What's up, people? Can you guys hear me okay? Looks like this thing is finally on. Alex, are you here, bud? See if I can make sure that you have the microphone. 2 seconds. All right, Alex, if you can hear me, I sent you the co-host invitation, brother. I'm going to jump in here in just a couple seconds, guys. Bear with us 2 seconds while we get Alex's microphone working. What's up, Alex? Looks like you have a mic icon. Can you hear me okay, bud?
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect, man. Perfect. It's actually pretty funny because um, we do upload these spaces to the podcasts and to the podcast episodes, and then I always have to cut out the beginning because we have to try to get everything fixed and yeah, always fun to listen to it.
Well, one of these days we'll get good at this stuff, right? And we'll have one of those fancy intros where, we're just playing music and counting down.
Yeah, definitely.
What's up, people? Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're having a fantastic Friday. I'm coming off of a couple days off. It was anniversary for the Queen and I on Wednesday. So I unplugged for a minute after being chained to the computer for a few days. So it's good to kind of check in and see how everyone's doing. What did I miss, Alex? What's happening in the world?
Not much, man. I just wanted to add that this time we didn't really announce the space. I mean, I do. We told people that we are trying to get live on Fridays. We haven't really announced it because we are trying to structure it a little different. So sorry for that, guys. I'm sure you guys are going to listen to it on the podcast. Yeah. Besides that, first of all, let me know what did you guys do on your anniversary? Did you have like a romantic date and to watch the movie like little kids.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. No, we this was number 13 for us, so we went and I sort of got with wifey and said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to take you on a staycation." So I got a room for us at a resort not too far off. We went to a pretty nice dinner the night before, and then went back, had a little staycation action, little double bubble bath action, little love-in, and got up the next day, and then we climbed Black Mountain, which was the mountain I proposed on, just to kind of commemorate that. And that's basically a mile straight up. It's like 1.1 miles, and it's uphill the entire trip. So after, a big dinner and then a big breakfast, we were sucking some serious wind when we got to the top. But we got there, and it was good times, and then came back down, got a little food in us, and then came back. So it was a nice little 36-hour getaway, not too far from where we live.
Yeah, definitely sounds pretty cool, man. Sounds to be a good spot to be your wife. um and yeah, oh, you proposed on a mountain. I mean, like I get to know you in on the space here because I didn't know yet. Definitely sounds romantic. I have to propose this year, actually. Looking forward to do that. Have no idea what to do yet, but yeah, let's see. I'm stealing your idea, maybe.
You have to propose, or you want to propose?
Yeah, of course. I want to, definitely. I mean, my girlfriend is not listening here, so we can definitely discuss ideas in the future.
All right. Well, I'm probably not, the best guy to ask for ideas, but you know what? I'm sure there's someone in the community that can contribute some good ideas. Oh
Yeah,
man.
hopefully. Yeah,
Yeah,
what
definitely.
what do we have on the menu today?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple questions I got. Actually, Bilo asked a great question. He did it he sent me a DM and he was wondering why there was a special piece in Maria's collection, for example, and what made it special and where the value of it comes from and all these kinds of things. And I noticed that he probably wasn't tuned into one of the um, spaces or podcasts where we talked about scarcity and we talked about what's happening in the NFT market and why there's so many failures. But if if he were, he would have heard some of this stuff. So if some of you guys have heard this before, feel free to chime in, throw some questions in Discord. I'm kind of following along there as well. If you guys don't want to post public questions, not a big deal. And yeah, we'll just jump into this bit here. But he basically asked, why why the signed piece was special and what makes it special and this and that and the other thing. And it sort of gets into what creates status and what creates scarcity. And it sort of also gets into why we created these collections the way that we created them. So to backtrack just a little bit, when we're doing artist drops in the real world, normally when an artist does something special, they create what's called numbered prints. And sometimes those numbered prints will be signed. There'll be a signing at a gallery or something like that. You can go and get your piece signed. Sometimes it costs money, sometimes it doesn't. But basically, it just adds another element of scarcity. So let's say an artist creates, in our case, 21 numbered prints of this beautiful piece of artwork that they do. Well, the fact that it bears a number tells you how close to the original piece it is, but it also creates an individual one of one for every single piece that holds a number. And then if you take one of the numbered pieces and you're able to get it signed for whatever reason, that also creates an added element of scarcity. And so if we go into the marketplace and we start looking at status and we start looking at what creates it and what creates scarcity and what creates desire and value, it's always things that are hard to get, that are limited, that have the most status associated with them and that have the most value associated with them, right? So what we're doing with the limited drops is we're recreating that in the tokenized world. And we're going to talk a little bit about tokenization on the second half of this one. And basically mirroring real life in the digital world. And if you'll notice, like everything that is mirrored that way is generally pretty successful, from handwritten spreadsheets on your desktop to Microsoft Excel. Like every little thing that we can transpose that has some sort of history of being well made and functional and useful, if we can digitize it and bring a mirror of that or an analog of that into the digital world, then we generally tend to be more successful with it. And so to answer that question, it really comes down to it's just another way of adding scarcity and value to a piece of art. And that's why we wanted to do it that way. It starts with the limit. Okay, there's only 21, a maximum of 21 holders. Some people are lucky enough to get more than one. And if you're trading around for different numbers, you have your favorite number. That creates an added element of scarcity there because you want a specific one. Now there's a specific one in every drop that's going to bear a signature as well as the artist's logo. And for us, in this particular drop, we're making it number 21. And number 21 is in an homage to Bitcoin in that there's 21 million Bitcoin. So we're doing a lot of things that are associated with Bitcoin because obviously it's the granddaddy of all chains. So that's basically why we did that. And if you look at other marketplaces, and a lot of times when I talk to mentors of mine or coaches of mine in the entrepreneurial space, the first thing that they'll have you do when you want to actually create desire or status or value in a thing is once you have it created and you have a certain number of people who want it, you immediately cut supply. And what we do in the NFT world is the exact opposite. And part of this is because a lot of what's happening on chain is just a big cash grab. And so as some of the people who know who've been following along, they know that we're basically building this project, you and I, from the ashes of a previous project, out of pocket and reinvesting every dollar that we possibly can into making sure that we can give value and quality to the holders. So that's why we're doing it this way. It's more difficult. It adds scarcity, it adds value, but it also adds a little bit of mystique, and it makes us feel good in terms of, hey, I know that we could do this an easier way, but we're taking the harder way because what's hard is cool. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to be. But if we pair that out and we look at what's happening in the normal NFT world, whenever there's a drop, it's let's drop as many as humanly possible. Let's put as many pieces out there as we possibly can. And then people are sort of suspect and wonder why they see their collection going to zero. Well, it's going to zero because there was artificial demand or no real demand in the first place. And because it was hyped up and because there was a lot of lies around the interaction in Discord, you see a lot of bribery. Hey, if you do this and you do that, and you spend your time doing this and doing that, and the other thing will give you a different role, or we'll give you a whitelist, or we'll give you a special thing. There's a lot of bribery that's sort of misleading the marketplace. And then, of course, when all that stuff subsides, you're left with the true value of the piece, which in most cases is not much. And that's why you see pieces, mint for a certain number and then generally drop drastically afterwards. And so what we've done is the opposite. We've taken the opposite approach. We're coming in slow, we're coming in with quality, and we're saying, okay, let's see what the market actually wants. And if the market wants this stuff, then it will exist. If the market doesn't want this stuff, then it won't exist. We'll go as fast as the market wants us to go. We'll produce as many as the market will bear, and we will produce as high a quality product as possible so that we make sure that the people who trust us to create value for them know that at the end of the day, we have their best interest at heart. So hopefully, Bilo, looks like you're listening, brother. Hopefully that answers a little bit of that question you sent me in DMs. And if not, feel free to throw me a follow-up question, and I'll dive into it a little bit more. What do you say to that, Alex? Did that make any sense at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I like the fact that you actually mentioned the numbered pieces again, because I remember back then when we had, I think it was the Purge piece, and then last time with Maria's first piece, we had the same situation when someone actually minted and then suddenly in the Discord like wrote, "Hey, I got a piece, but I got the same one that everyone else got." They actually expected to get different ones, and that's why I think it's important to mention again why we did what we did, like with the numbered pieces, and why we created it that way. So yeah, I think it's kind of like in Maria's drop, we kind of teased the other pieces that are going to come, and that might have led to people expecting to get different ones. But yeah, that's why I think it's important that you explain to people again what was the idea behind the 21 pieces.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I think that someone was asking, well, why is this one special versus why is that one not special? And they hadn't gone through that process of understanding the numbered pieces or the autographed piece. And, that's to be expected because, we can only be in so many places so many times, right? There's only me, there's only you. And if someone comes in late to the table and maybe they haven't consumed that information, but yeah, I mean that's to be expected. And once it was explained, it was like, oh, okay, I get it, right? And then it's a direct analog to the real world, and it makes a lot of sense. And then when you think about the quality and the scarcity that adds to it, it adds to the fun of trying to collect the pieces that you like, for example, which is always a party for me. I love the afterwards when people start trading around. That's the funnest part for me.
Yeah, it's actually the coolest part. And I remember last time when we had the drop, you actually even wrote to me and was like, "Hey man, why are you not here? Here's the party going on." And I was like preparing a post, and you got a little mad at me. So that was, I definitely noticed that you like that part.
Which I'm sorry, what part was this?
The part after the mint, when everyone is like trading and then talking about the pieces, I left that last time a little early because I had to prepare a tweet, and you reached out to me and was like, "Hey man, let's why don't you join the party here?"
Yeah, yeah, I totally remember that. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was like,
Um,
oh, let's jump in, let's dive in, let's have a little fun.
but what I just saw, I actually haven't checked the markets today as much as I usually do. Solana actually reached a new peak. Do we have some news for that? Why did that happen, or was it like organic growth without any news?
I haven't checked the Solana news, to be honest with you. I think Solana, like ETH, is following some of the Bitcoin activity. And but yeah, let me pull up something while you're chatting, and I'll see if there's any like major Solana news. I know there's a an update plan for Solana that's supposed to be pretty amazing in terms of speed. I think it's called Fire Dancer. Um,
that that
and
name.
yeah, it's a cool name, and it's part of the Solana infrastructure. I'm pretty sure that's called Fire Dancer, and it's supposed to basically like really boost the speed like tremendously. And I mean, Solana's already super fast, But I mean, with this speed update, there's a lot of supposition that, we talked about this a little bit before, that, maybe Solana could overtake ETH and blah, blah, blah. And we talked a little bit about the different populations there. But yeah, I don't see anything major for Solana other than it's just following Bitcoin. It looks like most people are, it looks like both Bitcoin and Ethereum outperformed, blah, blah, blah. It looks like Solana was lagging. Yeah, it looks like most people are just assuming it's following Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I think Ethereum's running because now that we've got the Bitcoin ETFs in the marketplace and so much traditional money has come into the ETF space, I think one of the BlackRock funds has already done $10 billion in transaction volume, which is absolutely insane because it's just a few weeks old. But there's talk of an Ethereum ETF as well. So Ethereum will probably be the next big gainer. And then who knows, maybe Solana can join the party as well.
Yeah, I last time I checked a couple hours ago, like everything seemed a little red, and then there was that green light on Solana, and it was like obviously increasing in price. So I felt like there was some news I missed, but yeah, so right now everything looks green, so should be good. Um, in private, we talked about we talk a lot about tokenization in general when we have
Hmm.
private calls, and I think last time we kind of mentioned it as well. So I think we can dive into that topic right now.
Yeah, for sure. And just FYI, if anybody wants to chat or wants to throw up a question, feel free. I'm sitting here looking at Discord if you want to throw it in Discord. And also, if you want the microphone, just let me know. Again, I'm a amateur spaces guy, so still learning a little bit about this. So, it might take me a second, but if you want the microphone, let me know. Be happy to hear from you and learn what your thoughts are on some of this stuff. But okay, yeah, so tokenization is something that's huge. And I think that a lot of people in the NFT space haven't really considered this because NFTs themselves are tokens. If you look at coins, whatever coin you're holding, whatever your favorite token is, these are technically tokens as well. And basically what the idea is that we can take a token, whether it's an NFT or a coin or whatever you have, and we can have it represent something in the real world. And whatever that thing is up to, the person who's designing the coin or designing, the NFTs or designing the process or the project. But a lot of people forget that almost everything in the real world can be tokenized. And it can be tokenized through a variety of different ways. But at some point in the future, the market is going to evolve past what it is today, which is basically developers. We've got a lot of developers in the Solana space, on Ethereum, on Bitcoin, and they're developing for themselves. They're like, let me see if we can do this really cool thing. And then you have early adopters, which many of us are. And so we have this combination of developer and early adopter, which basically forms most of the marketplace. And at some point, it's going to have to evolve past this and get into the consumer market. And the way it gets into the consumer market most likely is through tokenization. And what that might mean is, for example, if you're holding a timeshare, which is basically a real estate transaction where you own a fractional share in a property and you get to spend a certain number of days out of the year at that property. Well, rather than going through some big long real estate contract, you can literally just buy an NFT that guarantees you a certain number of days, and then the system can schedule it, can get you in and out on certain dates, and we eliminate like 5 or 6 people having to do that job, or a lawyer having to sign a contract, or a real estate agent having to do paperwork, and it just streamlines the process, right? Same thing, we talked a little bit about artwork. There was a Jackson Pollock studio, obviously one of the most famous, artists in recent history, who they had literally specks of his paint on the floor. This is a really cool one. You guys should probably look this up. But what they did was they literally took these little pieces of paint from the floor of the studio and they turned them into NFTs and tokenized them and then sold them in the marketplace. They took 100 NFTs and they sold them into the marketplace for something like $450,000. It's absolutely insane, right? And so tokenization is something that can allow you, no matter at what financial level you're at, to participate in something that you may not have been able to participate in before, whether it's fractional ownership in, fancy property, an expensive vehicle, expensive artwork, whatever that thing is. It kind of it's going to do to the real world what digitization did to stocks and bonds. Back in the day when you bought a stock, you bought, like you could buy in eighth shares or quarter shares, but you couldn't buy any less or more than that. So when everything was digitized and the stock certificates were digitized, now you could buy any fraction of a piece of stock that you wanted. And so sort of the same thing that happened with like stocks and investing world is going to be happening in the real world for things that people desire. Scarce desirable assets will be fractionally held by groups of people, and it sort of democratizes ownership. And of course, ownership is necessary for a free and peaceful society. And we could talk a little bit about the philosophy behind that in another spaces when we've got 20 hours to go through it. But at the end of the day, like if you're giving someone the ability to own something that they were never able to own before, whether it's through an NFT or through a token, then you're giving them a greater share of the pie. You're giving them greater access to the world, and you're giving them something that they may not be able to get to in the traditional world, which is extremely powerful when you start thinking about all the implications of that.
It's actually pretty interesting that you mentioned that Jackson Pollock thing, because this seems like a thing that has been done a lot in the early days of the NFTs. I remember a guy who was some kind of musician, and he found a piece of like paper basically, and his original lyrics of a song that he wrote, and he basically like scanned that piece of paper, tokenized it, and burned the original one
Mm.
to tokenize it and sell it. And I think we had a similar thing with the bottle of whiskey I mentioned last time.
Hmm.
So yeah, fractional ownership, basically what you described. And yeah, I feel like in the end, there are so many examples of how tokenization will be able to used in our everyday life. I mean, financial systems is pretty obvious. Asset ownership, you mentioned it as well, but also for stuff like I think I don't know if you're familiar with the project VChain, but they are basically tokenization is used to create a transparent and traceable, yeah, let's say supply chain. For example, if you want to know like the meat that you eat from, I don't know, a cow or anything, that will be traced back to where it actually came from by a token. And yeah, like I said, I think it's incredible what kind of aspects tokenization can be used for. And I feel like you always keep mentioning and keep saying that we are so early right now, and really nobody really knows right now what can be done with tokenization. But yeah, it's definitely going to be the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we are, let's see, if we pair this out, if we look back at the history of just where we're at in the market right now, and we compare it to something like Bitcoin started in 2009. It gained popularity. It took, quite a bit of time for it to reach $1,000 mark, and then it crashed and went to 2,500 and crashed, and 19,000 and crashed, and 69,000 and crashed. And all this has taken place over the span of, I think people forget, it's been 15 years now that Bitcoin's been around, right? And so NFTs sort of came around in 17, really got started in 18. They've only been around 5 or 6 years, you know. And where we're at in the space right now, from doing basically artwork drops on very risky, maybe this utility is going to work out, maybe this anonymous team is going to somehow deliver, it's a really bad investment plays. But it will eventually evolve from that into something that is tied to an actual business in the real world, which is obviously something that I'm going to hint at a little bit here, because this is kind of where we want to go ultimately. But every project can tokenize outside of not just the beautiful art, or some, interesting token play, but into how it can provide value and service to someone in the real world. And, if I look at something like Beeple's artwork that sold, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, that piece of art called 5,000 Days, or the first 5,000 Days, it was 5,000 individual photographs that sold for something like $70 million. Like the average person will never be able to own this piece of art. It just will never happen. And so, in order to enable democratization of ownership of something that is a luxury item like this, tokenization would make a lot of sense. So, the owner of this piece, whoever holds it now, could tokenize it and sell fractional ownership in it. And then, of course, the people who have fractional ownership could then trade those pieces back and forth as need be. And so, when you talk about when you talk about or think about things like power and wealth distribution throughout history, and this gets a little bit philosophical, but at the end of the day, the more you can distribute those two things, the more fair, peaceful, equitable world you find, because people lose the ability to step on one another, and the incentive to step on one another is no longer there. And so when you start thinking about the power of that and thinking past, okay, it's beautiful art, it's scarce art, I love it, or this is a cool token idea, or this is a great utility that another developer is gonna really appreciate the fact that I can do all this technology over here, kind of a thing, and think about how it can serve real people, that's where the power comes in. And when I think about what we're doing, bringing in multiple artists, multiple collections, and then putting that in the hands of people who actually care and want to see, good artwork survive, artists supported, the next question becomes is how do we provide uses for this in the real world and make it even more valuable by tying it to something who in the real world maybe we weren't able to tie it to before, like an actual business, or an actual club that requires scarcity, or an actual luxury experience. And these are all possible, right? And I don't really think anybody in the space, especially on Solana, is really thinking about this. Maybe a few guys on ETH and a few guys on Bitcoin are, but in terms of what's possible, man, it just seems like the sky's the limit and everybody's kind of looking down at their feet right now. So I feel like we have a tremendous opportunity. What's up, Chaz? See you here, man. Hope you're doing well. I know if you want to speak up, man, just say the word and I'll see if I can throw you the mic.
It's actually interesting that you mentioned the Beeple image, because the one that was sold for, I don't know, 669 back in 2021, which was basically the first NFT bull run. Just wondered what happened to that. Like, is he just keeping it? Because from the Bored Apes, for example, you always hear like the prices crashed and they are not valuable anymore and everything. So I wonder
Mm-hmm.
if that guy wanted to sell that piece, if he would still get his money. Um,
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, traditionally, I mean, and this kind of goes into investing, which, may or may not be a topic we want to dive into. But traditionally, artwork is one of the things that holds its value in really rough times. So depending on where you think we are in the market cycle, in the economy, in history, in the state of late stage democracies, I mean, I think a lot of crypto emanated from the idea that the late stage democracies don't do very well. And so, in bad times, in hard times, artwork is one of the five primary things that people would hold to survive.
Yeah, definitely. What I wanted to add to the topic before regarding the tokenization, I think that it's also a very powerful tool combined with the IP rights that we try to secure for every piece that we sell. And
Yes.
I think we have noticed that in the recent weeks and months that a lot of projects came to the idea and the conclusion that it's very important to own your IP and to provide it to the people who mint stuff. So yeah, do you think it will be like it will be more important to project in the future? Like I've seen the e-gods do that as well. And yeah, what do you think is going to happen in the future?
Yeah, this is something that I think is going to be an absolute necessity. And this is one of the things that, I've been pushing for, not just in our project, for artists in general. Because, like, if you give a shit about an artist, like, you want to see an artist succeed, Like when we are, sending funds to Maria, for example, to support her, like I want to see her succeed, then I want to do everything in my power to make sure that she has control of her intellectual property, right? And so if she asks me a question about, how do I secure this or how do I do that, then I'm going to answer her honestly, whether she was part of our project or not, because I want to make sure that, her efforts are not in vain. And I think there's a lot of people in the marketplace that want to see good people do good things and succeed and just don't really know how that starts. But with the advent of this technology and also the coming regulation, it's going to be a requirement that people actually protect themselves. Or there's going to be, lawsuits. There's going to be a lot of discontent. A lot of people, like even Maria, like on a space with her, I was talking to her and she was talking about how someone just, hey, we're just going to duplicate your art. It's like, hey, we're just going to remint something that looks like your shit. And what she can't really do much about it, right? And so you really want to make sure that you're protected, especially as a creator, because as we go forward, the most valuable things are really going to be products of the mind, not so much products of the body. Because remember, we're going to have a lot of robots doing products of the body.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if I've mentioned it publicly, but I've talked a lot about like communications with artists because I'm trying to get people into the artist incubator and everything. And yeah, I I think I told you already, but when I talk to people with like a little amount of followers, they usually tend to give a fuck about IP. They are more like, hey, take my art and do whatever you want with it. And when you have artists who are known for their art, who do that for a long, long time, and who are very passionate about it, you definitely notice a difference in how they behave towards their own art. They value it a lot more. They care about the IP just like Maria did, because if she just sold her pieces, if that was work for hire actually, then she wouldn't have anything to do with it now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you definitely see that artists, real artists, actually care more than others.
Yeah, this might be a good question to ask Chaz. I mean, some of you guys might know Chaz. He, is one of the big dogs in the One Love project, and he's got a good group of artists that are in his circle. So I'm curious, if maybe you want to speak to this, Chaz. Like, are people in your circle in the art world, are they becoming more savvy about IP rights? Is it something that they care about? What are your thoughts on that?
It's funny, Archer, that I have a small little project that's coming on Solana. I'm helping out some artists do this little collection of these fun zombies. And in the conversations, and by the way, these artists are from Iran. And the fact that they actually brought up IP rights in the conversation, I was like, wow, I didn't expect artists to like really think about it unless they're like the highest level art, like people on the top. So I think it's interesting that the up and coming artists are looking at it as well because there's a value, right? There's a huge value of IP rights, and we could have a conversation all day long about it. But yeah, I think it's very very important. I mean, I think that's a big part of NFTs in themselves is the licensing aspect of the actual artwork and protecting it. But yeah, it's definitely something we talk about quite a bit, Archer, for sure. Happy anniversary, by the way.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I figured you might have your finger on the pulse of that. I mean, I'm not sure how many artists are in One Love, but I know you have quite a few. And I think the last time we spoke, you had told me you had traveled, was it to Miami or someplace where you guys were doing some artwork and hanging out? And, where those conversations emanate, from, like a core group of people who are actively involved in creation. I'm just really curious to see how that develops and grows, because ultimately, if you are a creator and you want to make it a career or you want to make it something that you can support yourself with, you've got to be able to secure that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, yeah, I went down at Art Week in Miami, and it was an amazing experience down there to be able to connect with everybody and paint physically with them. And I'm not traditionally a painter, but I am now after that week. As far as members, we just want over 200 DAO members now. We have well over 500, 600 people in the community. So it's been growing quickly, beautifully, to a point where now we're like, all right, we need some more leadership because the four of us just can't handle the workload. So we've been kind of picking and choosing members that we want to invite to be leaders. But yeah, and we're going to do an event at NFT NYC the Monday before the NFT NYC kicks off at the Canvas 3.0 at the World Trade Center Memorial Building. There's a beautiful gallery there. So we're going to have an event there. IP rights. All right. So listen, I think I shared with you Ali Sabet's licensing, the OK Bears licensing. To me, I think IP rights are a fantastic tool if the artwork meets something that would need to be IPable, if that makes sense. Like if I just like my astronaut to me, I can maybe make IP rights on that. But like if I did an abstract piece of art, I don't see a need for me to offer IP rights on something like that unless somebody wanted it exclusively and then they pay for it. So yeah, I do think I'm attracted to pieces of art that do have IP rights when it's something that I want to do. I want to create derivatives or be creative with. If I'm just collecting, I'm fine with a, no rights at all, or maybe just print rights. Which, by the way, that is all important. Like like Ali Sabet created his career on prints. That before NFTs, it was all prints. So when he started getting NFTs, he got really upset when when a collector said, "Oh, I just printed out your artwork," and he's like, "What do you mean?" Like, but then he realized that wait, they paid for this already. Like, why shouldn't they be able to? So now he has print rights on pretty much all of his artwork, which artists don't think about that when they mint their NFTs. You really should have some type of rules or some type of conditions on your artwork. And I did hear you mention that people, sniping her artwork and just reminting it. Yeah, I've had it happen to me as well. And this is where the marketplaces need to really step up and control it. And thankfully, in my case, Object actually went and wiped them out completely, took the whole account and locked it out. So it really comes down to the marketplaces. And then I think as regulation continues, Archer, I think that NFTs will become more powerful and have a lot more legal rights and make people more accountable.
I love it, man. It's super awesome to hear that you were able to get an exchange to help you out there. I took, I mean, I may have told this story before, but for those of you guys who haven't heard it, when we took over the AOM art, I had to go to Magic Eden to get them to delist it, and the first thing that they asked for was proof. Like, what is your proof that you have access to this artwork? And fortunately, Alex and I had been negotiating with the artist for literally 4 months to get an agreement signed. I was able to send that over to Magic Eden, and then they finally, over this random chat, sent me an agreement that says, "Hey, we see your point. We acknowledge the paperwork, and we're gonna take it down." And that was, I think, a huge step forward, and it tells us a lot about where they think the market is going, not just where we see the market going. So it's awesome to hear that you were able to get that done, brother.
Are you going to NFT NYC, by the way?
I don't have plans to go this year, man. I do want to go to all of these things, and I think I'm trying to get Alex and I to show up at one of these things together. But you know what? I might last minute it, to be honest with you. I'm really tempted to show up.
Well, if you do, man, you know how to reach me and would love to catch up. And yeah, I really just want to come up and say hi to you guys. Miss you guys. And yeah, hopefully one night you guys will hop in the nightcap with me again and we can just do what we do in there. But yeah, this is a great conversation, bro. And by the way, as far as NFTs and as far as like the value of NFTs, I just want to share my vision, if you don't mind, Archer.
Yeah, go ahead, man. It's all you.
Yeah, when I drive in my car and I'm looking at the world around me, I see everything as an NFT. Today, we have so much paperwork and documents that we put things on that can easily get lost, burned, water damage, whatever, and you lose, the potential of your rights to that asset. NFTs makes it basically virtually impossible unless you shut down the entire internet, and even then, I think there's still ways to get it. Makes it virtually impossible to dispute the ownership. And so yeah, I see everything from cars to houses to just everything you own, being an NFT, and it's a trackable asset. And art is no exception, right? And I think it's a beautiful way of protecting your art. And it's going to change the way copyright works too, because I think just minting it's in its own, like if I write a song and I mint it, and then somebody creates a song with it later on, I have proof of creation, and it's a way for you to protect yourselves in the future. And legally, I think it's becoming more and more valid. And my project that I'm building on Solana for the enterprise world is based on that. The fact that it's indisputable. You cannot argue that a transaction occurred on chain because it's not possible to manipulate it. So yeah, there's such a value to blockchain and NFTs, and there's no exception for artists as well. It's proof, and it's a way for you to protect yourselves. And yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I love what you guys are building, and the fact that you're putting IP rights in there, supporting artists, uplifting artists, and yeah, just super proud to be a boss in the community. And how many left, by the way? How many bosses left?
There's only 5 left to mint. We put a couple in treasury when fees drop down, so that people wouldn't get killed as Bitcoin continues to climb. But yeah, there's only 5 left to mint, brother. And I don't know if fees drop again, like they were pretty low. I might go ahead and just mint the last 5 out and put them in treasury. But yeah, there's 5 at present.
Nice, man. It's so cool to see that coming to completion. And
I know.
yeah, I
It's
love
it's
it, man.
awesome.
It's the best community on Solana, in my opinion, man. I love how you're building genuinely and organically.
Dude, I appreciate that. Means the world. I mean, because at the end of the day, when you look at all the hype and horseshit going around, and you see projects getting attention that maybe shouldn't be, because you kind of know, hey, this is not really going anywhere. People are going to get screwed. But what can you really say? Because then you look like a hater, you know. So it's kind of nice to see people appreciate what's happening and know where the market's going. And I'm not sure if you were here for the first part of the conversation, but we talked a little bit about tokenization, which is what you were talking about. And I definitely agree with you when I look out into the landscape and I see, analogs. These are analogs that we can create in the digital world. And, we talk about artwork, we talk about business processes, but we don't talk about like some of the most basic things. Like the highest and best use of blockchain is provenance, is tracking. So things like last will and testament, things like property deeds. I mean, these are things that people don't realize that could be easily implemented. And obviously some of the ideas that we're thinking about with our business, just to kind of, be transparent. But I mean, services that provide, an immutable last will and testament, or if it's updated, they've got the most recent version and it's tagged on the blockchain, or property. All of these things are easily analogous in the digital world to what we have in the real world, but the rest of the world hasn't caught on yet, and they won't unless and until we start offering services that appeal to real people. So, we're still in that early adopter phase, early part of the marketplace, but man, yeah, I agree that that's where we're going. And to your point about what you guys are doing with One Love, I mean, I've sat in on a few of the spaces. Usually when I'm sitting at my desk, playing Code Monkey, I've got you guys playing in my ears, and just kind of listening and hearing you guys check in. But I know you have a fabulous stable of artists in that group. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about when you get a free moment is, maybe doing a little contest in your group to create some artwork for the AI, for the artist incubator. And we could talk about that another time, but we'd definitely love to do something like that with you, brother.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I actually was telling Jennifer, one of the other co-founders, about it. And yeah, I think it's a perfect marriage between two projects. We have such an arsenal of artists, even like Caden, who's up here as well in the space. I mean, just these artists, they're all amazing. They're really, truly amazing. And I think projects like what you're doing and highlighting, spotlighting, giving them the opportunity, a lot of these artists are not on Solana. And so it's a great way for them to get onto Solana between that. And we also did apply for DRIP as a community. So hopefully we'll get in there and we'll be able to highlight artists in there as well. So yeah, there's so many great things that we're working on, and would love, love, love to partner with you guys and bring some of these artists to light.
We'll definitely get it rolling, brother. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you stepping up, and appreciate all your commentary. You always bring some serious value, man. So much love.
Yeah, much love back to you, man. And I had another comment for you, and I'm totally forgetting what it is now, but had to do with tokenization. Either way, man, I'm gonna actually hop down. I'm gonna run out, and yeah, just much love to you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
All right, brother. You too. Take care. All right, fellas. If anybody else wants the mic, feel free to just let us know. We'll throw it your way. I'm happy to get to know you guys and obviously learn a little bit about what's going on in your world. Feel free to jump in the Discord. You know, we accept people from all communities, whether you're holding one of our guys or not. And if you're good people and you like art and you like making sure that, you know, this market that we're in and that we're creating in this space that we all love and enjoy succeeds, then we want you to be in our circle. So feel free to join us at any point. That said, Mr. Alex, you've been kind of quiet. What you got going over there, brother? Any questions for us?
Yeah, no, I was actually listening to Chaz. Haven't ever talked to him in person, so I'm glad that he jumped on the space right now. It was actually pretty cool to hear or to listen to his point of view regarding the IP and the art. And yeah, I think he beautifully told us about how he sees everything around him as an NFT. That was a pretty cool picture that he painted. And yeah, I was actually quiet listening to you guys having a great conversation.
Yeah, man, for sure. They're those guys do like the longest spaces in the world. I think they're, you know, I was on one time that was, I don't know, it had to go at least 8 hours. They just kept, you know, having someone else step up and keep it going. So, and they do this pretty much every night. It's kind of hard for me to keep up. But yeah, I have dropped in there. If you guys like popping by and saying hello to a few artists, it's definitely a good place to be. And you know, good people, the kind of people we like, and you know, obviously appreciating art and seeing where the market's going. So what else we got going on? So we talked a bit about tokenization, what's going on with Goodfellas. Let me just drop this nugget for you guys before we jump off. We were going to make this short, and it's actually been a little bit longer than we planned coming off this anniversary celebration. But you know, Chaz talked a little bit about real world tokenization. You know, I talked a little bit about real world tokenization at the top of the show. And at the end of the day, like what we're doing, bringing artwork under our umbrella, we're going to be reaching out to the community asking for recommendations. But I know every single person listening to this has been rugged in some way, shape, or form, has been, you know, has had a founder just walk away from a project, probably is sitting on beautiful artwork that they love that now has no marketplace because it was abandoned in some way, shape, or form. Just understand that no matter what chain that artwork is on, we want to bring that artwork under our umbrella. We want to own it and we want to grant rights back to you guys. So if you guys have contacts with people who have been in failed projects or projects that people have abandoned or quit on, reach out to me or Alex. Discord is probably the best place to do that. Drop in, drop a message, and let's chat about getting in touch with the original artist. And if we can track them down and negotiate a license agreement with them, I don't care what chain the artwork is on, we can bring it on to Solana and we'll do the work behind the scenes to make sure that that happens so that whatever artwork you're holding has a viable marketplace forever. And so when the way our business is working is the more digital assets we acquire, the better everyone who's holding a boss, the better everyone who's holding one of the fellows does, because that's ultimately going to translate into a line of business. And so if I give you just a simple example, if we onboard a collection that has something to do with like an alcohol brand, for example, like everybody's got a theme with their NFTs, whether it's, you know, alcohol or you know, like OK Bears, and they're doing brand placements, or the Whales, which are doing music with Def Jam. Like everybody's got a specific theme that they're focused on. We can take beautiful artwork if we can get the rights to it and actually apply that to a real world business, which makes a lot of sense and actually is in complete alignment with the tokenization theme that we've been talking about throughout this entire podcast. So for those of you guys who are listening to us and are in earshot of my voice, if you have people that you know you feel like might be a good fit for us to speak to, feel free to reach out. But above that, like if there are people in your circle and you want them to be affiliated with something that's going to be here for years and decades and is actually, a couple of people who are actually committed to building a long-term business, we want them in our community. Bring them in, let's chat, let's build some trust, and we'll go from there. And that said, I'll turn it over to Cause and see if he's got any last words, and we'll close this thing out.
Yeah, beautifully said, man. I think I might add that it's not just about like abandoned collections or if you got rocked or something, but if you just know a good artist or someone who's creating great art and who would like to be part of the artist incubator, you can just let him know, let him reach out to us, and we'll definitely find a way to yeah to implement his art into our artist incubator. So yeah, we are always looking for great art in the space, and we always look for great IP for you to provide uh, to provide to you. And yeah, that's basically it for today. Thank you to everyone who listened to us today, and yeah, shout outs to Chaz who jumped on the space. Check out his nightcap. He's basically online every time when I'm online. So you should definitely check that out. And yeah, I think that's it for today, man.
Cool.
If you don't have anything left, we can say goodbye.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to chime in before we close this out, throw up a hand and I'll be happy to chat with you or take a question or have a quick conversation. Anybody, let it sit for just a couple seconds. If not, we'll go ahead and close her out and get on with the weekend. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like I'm not seeing anybody. Awesome. So appreciate all you guys being here. Much love to every single one of you guys in the Goodfellas community. Holding those bosses, holding those fellows. We look forward to providing a shit ton more value to you guys as we go forward. We got more pieces dropping from Maria. We've got 2 collections that we've already onboarded. I'm behind the scenes doing all the metadata work right now to bring that under our umbrella, which has been quite a task. Much more work than I thought it was going to be, but it's worth it. And we love the artwork, and we're excited to expose you guys to it ultimately. So that said, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Sending love to everybody here, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care.